Imagine yourself as a beautiful young girl. On your 18th birthday, you find yourself irresistibly drawn to Kaide, the alpha son. As your connection deepens, Kaide shocks you by rejecting you as his mate, leaving your heart shattered. Undeterred, you fight for your love, only to discover the painful truth. Kaiden's father forbids the union. Will your love be strong enough to overcome the challenges of pack politics, or will it be torn apart? Besties, listen to the story of Akira.
Akira's POV. I walked through the crowded hallway of Lunaria High, searching through the sea of students for my friends. Seems they're late, I said to myself, making my way to my locker. My eyes landed on a flyer taped to the door of it. Lunar Games, School Tournament. It read, "Hey, Akira." A voice spoke from behind me. "Heard you're entering the Lunar Games." I turned to face Kaide, the star quarterback of the school's football team. His broad shoulders perfectly stretched out his Letterman jacket while his eyes kept shimmering with amusement. I turned around to meet his gaze. His peacock blue eye made my heart skip a beat. "Who told you that?" I asked, trying to sound nonchalant. Kaide leaned against the locker next to mine, his eyes glinting with teasing. "I have my sources, you should that." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite myself. What did Kaide want from me? Come to think of it, we have never really talked before, except for the few hello in the hallway and events. Well, what about you? Are you entering the tournament? I asked. This somehow made his smile to grow wider. "I'm thinking about it," he replied with his eyes still locked on mine. "But I think I'd have a better chance of winning if I had a partner." Damn. Was Kaide asking me to be his partner? A partner? I repeated, trying to sound calm. What kind of partner? A partner for the Lunar Games, obviously, he said, his eyes sparkling with amusement. It's a team tournament, Akira. We'd have to work together if we want to win. I felt a flutter as I thought about Kaiden's proposal. Working together would mean spending much time with him, and I wasn't sure if that was a good idea. But at the same time, I couldn't deny the spark of attraction I felt whenever Kaide was near. "I don't know, Kaide," I said, trying not to sound desperate. "I'm not sure if we'd make a good team." Kaiden's expression turned serious as he took a step closer to me. "I think we'd make a great team, Akira," he said with a low voice as he tried to persuade me. "And I'm willing to prove it to you." My heart skipped a beat as I looked into his eyes, which always haunts me whenever I dream about him. What exactly was he proposing? "All right then, prove it to me," I replied. "Let's make a bet. If we win the Lunar Games together, you have to go out on a date with me." He spat out. My mind ran wild as I considered his proposal. A date with him? To be honest, it was pretty tempting, but also scary. He was known as a picky person by everyone, which brought up the assumption that he would be worse when choosing Luna. What if we lose? I asked after much thinking. "If we lose, I'll do anything you want," he replied with a grin and continued with challenging eyes. "But I'm not going to lose, Akira. I'm going to win, and you're going on a date with me." I felt a shiver run down my spine as I observed how confident he was of winning. He was so sure of himself, which was one thing I liked about him. "Okay," I said finally with firm voice. "You're on." His face lit up with a triumphant smile, and he held out his hand. "Shake on it then." I paused for a moment but still went ahead to take his hand. The spark of electricity that ran through me as our palms touched was unmistakable. As soon as Kaide walked away, I closed my locker and turned around, only to find my best friend, Lena, standing behind me with a huge grin on her face. "I couldn't help but overhear," she said, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "One of the hottest guys in school just asked you to be his partner, and you're going to pretend like it's no big deal?" I rolled my eyes, trying to play it cool. "It's not a big deal, Lena. He just wants to win the Lunar Games." Lena raised an eyebrow. "Save it, Akira. I saw the way he looked at you. He's got it bad." I felt my cheeks heat up, and I looked away, trying to hide my smile. "Besides," Lena continued, "you have to admit, it's pretty exciting. Kaide is like the ultimate catch, and he chose you as his partner. It's just a tournament, Lena. Let's not make a big deal out of it," I said. But Lena just laughed. She knew I was deceiving myself. "You're not fooling me, babe. I know deep in you, you're super excited." I couldn't help but smile. I was actually feeling super excited about the whole idea of partnering with Kaide. Maybe this tournament wouldn't be so bad after all. The day of the Lunar Games tournament finally arrived, and I could feel the excitement buzzing in the air as the auditorium was filled with students. I stood outside the school's auditorium, nervously holding on to my uniform as I waited for Kaide to arrive. Lena, who was sitting on a nearby bench, caught my eye and grinned. "You look like you're about to explode from anxiety," she said, chuckling. "Shut up, Lena," I said, shooting her a withering look. She was right. I felt I was about to explode, then boom. He appeared right beside me, looking calm and confident in his uniform. "Hey, Akira. Ready to do this?" I nodded, trying to match his confidence. "Yeah, let's do this." Together, we walked into the auditorium, where the other competitors were already gathered. The room was filled with the sound of chatter and excitement from the students. At the front of the room, the tournament organizer, who was Professor Orion, stood on stage with a microphone in hand. "Welcome, students, to the Lunar Games tournament. Today, you will compete in a series of challenges which is designed to test your strength, agility, and strategy. And of course, the winning team will receive a prize of $1,000 and, of course, the coveted title of Lunar Games champions." The room erupted into applause, and I felt a surge of adrenaline rushing through me. It was time to get started. Professor Orion raised his hands, and the room fell silent again. The first challenge is the obstacle course. You'll need to navigate through a series of physical obstacles, using your speed, agility, and strength. He gestured to the side of the room, where a large, inflated obstacle course was set up. The course is designed to simulate the challenges you might face in the wild. You'll need to work together as a team to complete it. Kaide turned to me, a competitive glint in his eye. "Ready to show them what we're made of, Akira?" he asked. "I'm right beside you. Let's do this." The teams were called up to the starting line, and Professor Orion gave the signal to start. Kaide and I took off like shots, racing through the obstacle course with ease. We climbed over foam blocks, dodged inflatable balls, and crawled through tunnels. The crowd cheered us on, chanting our names and shouting encouragement. As we neared the end of the course, I could see the other teams closing in. But Kaide and I were determined to win. We crossed the finish line together, our hands raised in triumph. The crowd erupted into cheers, and Professor Orion announced our time. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. We were in the lead. But the tournament was far from over. We still had 2 more challenges to face, and the competition was fierce. The final challenge was a battle of wits, a strategy game that tested our teamwork and communication. Kaide and I worked seamlessly together, anticipating each other's moves and covering each other's weaknesses. When the game was over, Professor Orion announced the final scores. Kaide and I held our breaths as he revealed the winning team. And then we heard it. First place goes to Kaide and Akira. The auditorium erupted into cheers and applause as Kaide and I hugged each other, grinning from ear to ear. We had done it. As we walked off the stage, Kaide turned to me with a mischievous glint in his eye. "You know what this means, don't you?" he whispered. I raised an eyebrow, trying to playing dumb. "What?" Kaide chuckled. "You owe me a date, Akira. Tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Be ready." "I'll be ready," I said, trying to sound casual, but in reality my cheeks were heating up. Kaide grinned, his eyes sparkling with amusement. "I'm looking forward to it." And with that, he walked off, leaving me to wonder what I had just gotten myself into. The next evening, I stood outside the restaurant, playing with my dress. I had spent hours getting ready. I wanted to look nice. Kaide arrived at 7 p.m., looking handsome in a black shirt and jeans. He smiled when he saw me. "You look beautiful, Akira," he said, offering me his arm. I took it, feeling a spark when our skin touched. We walked into the restaurant and sat down at a cozy table. Over dinner, we talked and laughed. I was surprised by how easy it was to talk to Kaide. We had a lot in common. As the night went on, I felt more and more drawn to him. I liked the way his eyes sparkled in the dim light. I hoped he was my mate. I had always dreamed of finding my true mate. As we finished dessert, Kaide took my hand. His eyes locked on mine, burning with intensity. "Akira, I knew you were special from the moment I met you," he said. "I want you to be my Luna." I felt surprised. My Luna? What did he mean? But then I remembered something important. "Kaide, I need to tell you something," I said. He looked at me, his eyes never leaving mine. "What is it?" "My 18th birthday is tomorrow," I said. I don't want anything to happen before then. Kaiden looked surprised, but then he nodded. I understand. We'll wait. I felt relieved, but also a little disappointed. I had hoped he would kiss me. But it seemed that would have to wait, or probably it didn't. I felt my words being swallowed back to my throat by his lips, which he crashed on mine. My first kiss. I could feel the excitement in the air as I entered the mate ball. This was my night to find my mate. I was so happy, so was my inner wolf too. The music was pulsating while the crowd was buzzing with laughter and chats. My inner wolf stirred, sensing something special. He's here, she whispered. Our soulmate is here, Akira. I searched the room with my heart racing with excitement. Suddenly, my inner wolf shouted, Kaiden. I turned, my eyes locking on his familiar figure. He was standing across the room, searching the room for me, probably. My mate. I had found my mate. He was my mate. I made my way through the crowd with my heart pounding in my chest. As I approached Kaiden, I expected him to smile, to show some sign of recognition, but instead, all I got was his cold eyes and an angry expression. What was wrong? Didn't he feel the bond too? I slowed down, unsure of what to do, but my inner wolf urged me forward. He's our mate. She insisted. Go to him. I took a deep breath and approached Kaiden, hoping he would explain his strange behavior. I reached out and took Kaiden's hand, expecting him to feel the same spark I did. But instead, he yanked his hand away with his expression darkening. Kaiden, what's wrong? I asked with confusion and hurt written on my face. You're my mate, I said, expecting him to be thrilled. But Kaiden's response was rather icy. I want nothing from you. He spat. And I'll reject you. I felt like I'd been slapped. What? This was the same man who had been so sweet on our date? I took a step back, trying to process his words. Reject me? How could he? But we're mates, I repeated loudly. As soon as I repeated those words, the room fell silent. Everyone's eyes widened in shock at what they just heard, and I could feel their gazes burning into my skin. Oh my God. An Omega being the mate of an Alpha son? Someone whispered with their voice dripping with disdain. I felt my face heat up with embarrassment and hurt. Why did it matter that I was an Omega? I told you, I want nothing to do with you, he repeated, his voice dripping with venom and his eyes flashing with anger. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Why was he being so cruel? You can do this, I stuttered, trying to appeal to whatever humanity was left in him. His eyes narrowed. I don't care, he snarled. I'll never claim you. The room erupted into whispers and gasps, everyone shocked and happy by Kaiden's rejection. I felt tears pricking at the corners of my eyes, but I refused to cry. I wouldn't give Kaiden and everyone the satisfaction they were looking for. With a quiet dignity, I turned and walked away, leaving Kaiden and the rest of the pack staring after me, but as I walked, I could feel Kaiden's eyes on me, burning with a mixture of anger and desire. I knew that this wasn't the end of our story. Not by a long shot. The next day at school during lunch, I walked into the cafeteria, scanning the room for Lena. But before I could spot her, my eyes landed on Sasha, the daughter of the Shadow Pack's Alpha. She was sitting at a table, surrounded by a group of admirers. They were all buzzing around her, talking and laughing. I couldn't help but overhear their conversation. Can you believe it? Kaiden has chosen Sasha to be his Luna. One of them said happily. My heart sank, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. No, it couldn't be. Kaiden had rejected me just yesterday. It was too soon. But as I listened to their conversation, it seemed like Sasha had already accepted Kaiden's proposal. They were talking about the upcoming mating ceremony. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. This couldn't be happening. Kaiden had rejected me, but now he was choosing Sasha? I refused to believe it. There had to be some mistake. Kaiden wouldn't do this to me, would he? I spotted Lena across the room and made my way towards her. Lena, have you heard? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. But before Lena could respond, Sasha caught my eye. She was smiling smugly, looking like the cat who got the cream. I felt a surge of anger and hurt. How could he do this to me? Just as I was trying to process the news, the devil himself walked into the cafeteria, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on Sasha. He flashed her a charming smile, and my heart sank even further. This was not happening. Kaiden made his way over to Sasha's table, his movements confident and effortless. He leaned in, whispering something in her ear. And Sasha giggled, her eyes sparkling with delight. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut once again. This was the final nail in the coffin. He had chosen Sasha, and he was making it clear for everyone to see. Our date wasn't important to him in any way. Lena's hand found mine, her grip tight. I'm so sorry, Akira. She whispered. Don't mind him, he's an idiot. But I just shook my head, feeling numb. I couldn't believe he would do this to me. Had our connection meant nothing to him? As I watched, he pulled out a chair and sat down beside Sasha, his eyes never leaving hers. They were laughing and smiling together, and it was like a knife to my heart. I knew I had to get out of there before I made a scene. I turned to Lena, my voice barely above a whisper. Let's go. Sure, babe. Lena nodded, and together we walked out of the cafeteria, leaving Kaide and Sasha to their celebration. I lay on my bed, tears streaming down my face as my mother sat beside me, gently patting my hair. Akira, sweetie, it's going to be okay. She whispered, her voice soft and soothing. But I just shook my head, feeling a deep sadness wash over me. I want Kaide, Mom. I sobbed. I don't want anyone else. My mother sighed, her expression understanding. I know, baby. But sometimes, life doesn't give us what we want. And sometimes, what we think we want isn't what's best for us. I looked up at her, my eyes pleading. But why, Mom? Why did Kaide reject me? I thought we had a connection. My mother's expression turned serious. Kaide is a future alpha, Akira. He needs a powerful ally to secure his position. And Sasha, as the daughter of the Shadow Pack's alpha, offers him that. I felt a surge of anger and hurt. So, it's all about power and politics? My mother nodded. In the world of werewolves, sometimes it is. But that doesn't mean you're not worthy of love and happiness, Akira. You are. I sniffled, feeling a small sense of comfort. But deep down, I knew I still had a long way to go before I could heal from Kaide's rejection. I stepped out of my house, needing some fresh air to clear my head. I walked aimlessly, lost in thoughts about Kaide, Sasha, and the whole mess. I didn't even notice when I wandered onto the road. My mind was elsewhere, reliving the pain of Kaide's rejection. The honk of an incoming vehicle jolted me back to reality. I froze, my heart racing, as I realized I was standing in the middle of the road. But before I could react, a figure appeared out of nowhere, pushing me out of the way. I stumbled backwards, my eyes wide with shock. And then I saw him. Kaide. He was standing in front of me, his eyes blazing with a mixture of fear and anger. The incoming vehicle screeched to a halt just inches from Kaide's chest. I felt a wave of dizziness wash over me as I realized what had just happened. Kaide had saved my life. I stared up at him, my mind reeling with questions. Why had he saved me? Did he still care about me? Kaide's expression softened, his eyes locking onto mine. For a moment, I thought I saw a glimmer of the connection we had shared before. But then his mask slipped back into place, and he looked away, his jaw clenched. You should be more careful, he muttered, before turning and walking away. I quickly followed Kaide, my heart racing with emotions. I grabbed his hand, spinning him around to face me. Kaide, why did you save me? I asked, my voice shaking. I thought you hated me. Kaide's expression was neutral, but I could sense a hint of tension in his body. You're my friend, Akira, he said plainly. I couldn't just stand by and watch you get hurt. I felt a pang of disappointment. Friend? That's all I was to him now? But you rejected me. I stuttered, trying to understand. Kaide's eyes flashed with a hint of warning. I did what I had to do, Akira. Don't read too much into it. I felt a stinging sensation in my eyes as tears began to form. I had thought that maybe, just maybe, Kaide still had feelings for me. But now, I realized that I was just deluding myself. Kaide had made his choice, and it wasn't me. I let go of his hand, taking a step back. Thanks for saving me, Kaide, I said quietly, trying to hide the hurt in my voice. Kaide nodded, his expression softening slightly. Anytime, Akira. But as I turned and walked away, I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was losing him forever. I stood up, determination coursing through my veins. I need to confront him, Mom. I said, my voice firm. I need to know why he's doing this. My mother nodded, a look of encouragement on her face. Go, Akira. You deserve answers. And if he rejects you again, You must forget about him and move on. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the possibility. But my mother's next words gave me a glimmer of hope. Remember, Akira, the moon goddess always offers a second chance, mate. If Kaide is not meant to be yours, then someone else will come along. I smiled, feeling a sense of resolve wash over me. I would confront Kaide, and whatever the outcome, I would trust in the moon goddess's plan. Thank you, Mom, I said, hugging her tightly. I'll go talk to him now. My mother hugged me back, her voice full of love and support. Go, Akira. May the moon goddess guide you. The next day, I met up with Lena at school and told her about my plan to confront Kaide. She was hesitant at first, warning me about the potential risks and consequences. But I managed to convince her that I needed to do this, that I needed closure and answers. Eventually, she agreed to support me. With Lena's backing, I felt more determined than ever. I snuck out of our classroom during lunch, making my way to Kaiden's office. As one of the Alpha's sons, Kaide held a position of authority in the school, and I knew he spent a lot of time in his office. Thanks to my skill at picking locks, I was able to slip inside unnoticed. The office was empty, so I took the opportunity to snoop around. I wandered over to Kaiden's desk, running my fingers over the sleek wood. Just as I was about to open a drawer, I heard Kaiden's voice. My heart skipped a beat as I quickly scanned the room for a place to hide. I spotted a tall bookshelf in the corner and darted behind it, holding my breath. Kaiden's voice grew louder, and I realized he was talking to someone. I peeked around the edge of the bookshelf, trying to get a glimpse of who it was. But all I saw was Kaiden's broad back, his muscles rippling beneath his shirt as he gestured emphatically. Kaiden's friend asked him if he was really going to make Sasha his Luna. Kaiden's voice was filled with disgust. She's always clinging to me, using me to get famous. He said. If I didn't need the title of Alpha, I'd have nothing to do with her. His friend tried to reassure him. You'll get through it, man. Just pretend to care for a while. And then you can do what you want. Kaiden's friend left, and the room was quiet. I held my breath, wondering how I was going to sneak out without Kaide noticing. But before I could even think of a plan, I heard Kaiden's voice. Come out now, Akira. My legs froze. How did he know I was here? I tried to speak, but my voice was stuck in my throat. I slowly emerged from behind the bookshelf with my heart racing. How did you get into my office? He asked, his voice firm. I'm so sorry. I apologized, feeling a bit sheepish. But before I could explain, Kaide started walking towards me. I was in serious trouble. I backed away slowly with my eyes fixed on his until I hit the wall. He stopped right in front of me and asked with his voice low. What do you want, Akira? I gulped so hard, trying to find my voice. I wanted to know if you really like Sasha. I stammered. If that date meant nothing to you. Tears started streaming down my face as I waited for his response. But he just stood there, silent. After a while of nothing, I finally gathered the courage to look him in the eye. And that's when it happened. Without warning, Kaiden's lips crashed against mine. He kissed me. I felt a jolt of electricity run through my body as our lips moved together in perfect sync. He then pinned my hands above my head as he deepened the kiss. I was taken aback, but I couldn't deny the spark that had just ignited between us. It was like the whole world had come to a standstill, leaving only Kaide and me, lost in the moment. He scooped me up and placed me on his desk where we continued. His hands found my skirt and raised them till my lap was exposed. His hands roamed my body, grabbing my ass and my waist. All these threw my mind into a total mess. We were so lost in our kiss that we didn't even notice Sasha walking into the room. But as soon as she saw us, her eyes widened in shock and anger. I noticed and trying to push him off, but Kaide didn't even flinch, his lips still pressed against mine. But I felt a surge of fear as Sasha's face twisted in rage. She spun around and ran out of the room, sobbing uncontrollably. Kaide finally pulled away from me, his eyes locking onto mine. I was shaking, with fear and uncertainty written all over my face. She was the future Luna. This was so bad, but Kaiden's expression was calm and reassuring. Don't worry, Akira, he said, his voice low and soothing. I'll take care of everything. He pulled me into his arms, holding me close as I trembled with fear. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but with Kaide by my side, I felt a sense of safety and protection. As the days passed by, I felt uncomfortable and worried all the time. Sasha told everyone that I had tried to seduce Kaide, and now people looked at me like I was a bad person. I tried to ignore their whispers and laughs, but it was hard. Even friends from my class didn't want to talk to me anymore. Sasha seemed happy that I was unhappy. She would look at me with a mean smile like she was proud of herself. The next day, as I was walking down the hallway, I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. I turned to see Sasha and her friends, a group of girls who had always seemed to follow her lead, closing in on me. My heart began to pound as they cornered me in the female restroom. Sasha's eyes flashed with anger as she sneered at me. "You think you're so special, don't you, Akira?" she asked. "You think you can just seduce Kaide and get away with it?" I tried to stand my ground, but Sasha's friends began to close in on me, their faces twisted with malice. They had a scissor in their hand. They planned on making me ugly. "Please, don't," I begged. Just as things were going to get out of hand, the door to the restroom burst open and Kaide strode in. His eyes scanned the room and saw Sasha and her friends. "What's going on here?" he demanded. Sasha's friends took a step back, their eyes wide with fear. But Sasha herself stood her ground, her eyes flashing with defiance. "We were just teaching Akira a lesson," she sneered. "She thinks she's so much better than us, but she's just a slut. You're crossing a line, Sasha," he growled as he stepped forward. "Apologize to Akira, now." Her face twisted with anger, but Kaiden's gaze was unyielding. Finally, she uttered an insincere apology. "I'm sorry." His gaze lingered on Sasha for a moment before he turned to me. His eyes softened as he took in my shaken expression. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and gentle. I nodded, still feeling a bit dazed. "I don't want to see any of you near her again," he warned. "Do you understand?" Sasha and her friends nodded, their eyes wide with fear. Kaiden's gaze lingered on them for a moment before he turned to me. "Let's get out of here." He wrapped his arm around my shoulders, pulling me close as we walked out of the restroom. As we walked down the hallway, I couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder at what he did. He had stood up for me and defended me against Sasha and her friends. I glanced up at him, my eyes locking onto his. He smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Hey," he said, his voice low and gentle. "Are you really okay?" I nodded, feeling a sense of safety and protection with Kaide by my side. Days later Kaide accepted me as his mate, which made me so happy. He didn't care what others thought, especially his father. His dad, the alpha, finally accepted me too. I was Kaiden's Luna, and we can be together without any problems. I'm finally happy and feel like I belong.
The end. Did you enjoy the story? Kindly leave your review in the comments and subscribe for more interesting stories. Lots of love.